at a castle. And anyway, Paul had put on his town hall meeting, and just like he said, it was overwhelming, the response. And this is something I've been interested in, throughout my life. I haven't dedicated my time to it like he has. I think you see, just after listening to him talk, why he's my number one speaker.
Absolutely.
He's
absolutely.
And so my idea had been there, and then when this came about, the first thing I did, I put together a little video. I couldn't really get inside, but I put together a little video, and I shared that with Paul. And then I asked him if he'd be interested in speaking, if I got something together, and he said absolutely. So I was going to have it in a building I've got here in Columbiana, and then I was talking to the people over at the castle, not too far from me, and they said, we've got a date available, and we'll work something out with you. So the venue is worth the ticket price alone. And got 7 speakers lined up. 3 of them are Bigfoot researchers. One of them, I don't know, Paul, if you've heard of all of them or not. Bigfoot Bob is one. And there's another one. And then there's Kim Johnston, who's written several books. One of them is Haunted Alabama, Haunted Shelby, Haunted Kelsey, Haunted Talladega. She's just a wealth of knowledge. I interviewed her on a podcast a few years ago, but she's got all kind of interesting stories, a lot of history about Alabama. And then who else have we got? Frank Lee, who started Casper. I don't know if you're familiar with Casper, a paranormal research group.
Yes.
And he's going to be on there. He's very, very level-headed. I like his approach. He's almost like Paul, except in a different subject. And then, let's see, got this real cool chick coming down from Chattanooga, and she calls herself the Ghost Biker. Her name is Miranda. She's the daughter of a Pentecostal preacher, and she's into all kind of paranormal research, and she's a very entertaining person, to say the least. So we got 7 speakers. It's going to be a long day, and I'm going to feed everybody pizza. So.
Wow.
But bring your cameras. You might even get to get a selfie with Bigfoot. Who knows? The castle sits up in the woods. So who knows who might show up there. But it's the first time, like I said, I went up to Houston when Paul had his town hall meeting, and I was overwhelmed. I got a hold of the little restaurant there where he held his town hall meeting. There were more people at his town hall meeting than live in Houston, Alabama. So, and I didn't get to hear 3 words out of his mouth because it was so packed. And I got there early, and I'd gotten a hold of the restaurant, and they said people were already showing up at 3 o'clock, and he wasn't even supposed to start till 6. So clearly there's a big interest in it, and so we put this together. And tickets are selling online. The website is www.abnormalalabama.com. And I'll plug my YouTube channel. Anything that's related to what I'm doing, you just go to Abnormal Alabama on YouTube. And then same thing on Facebook. I tell everybody I'm abnormal, so that was an easy name for me to pick.
Right. If you will... In fact, I'm going to pull some information, your website and stuff like that, and I'm going to share it on our network page and on my personal Facebook. You were talking about Kim Johnston. In fact, I had her on our show. It's been several months ago, along with Blaine, really good friend of mine, Mr. Blaine Rohan. He works right along with Kim. In fact, Blaine and I and several of our group, we just took a trip early summer to Fort Morgan and over there and did kind of a daytime investigation. But Miss Kim is an awesome person, and very
just wealth of knowledge, just like Paul, wealth of knowledge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But see, this is why. You see real quick that this is why I'm planning the event and I'm letting them do the talking.
Sure. I understand. Now, is this going to be like a full-blown Paracon type thing, or?
Yeah, with 7 speakers, in the center of their reception hall will be seating and where the presentations will take place. Mm-hmm. Each one of the presenters, like Paul, will have a table. So when they're not presenting, they can sit at their table. They can share their information and answer questions throughout the day. Some of them, like Kim, have books that she can sell and autograph and so forth. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a few other vendors there. So I think we're going to have maybe a photo booth and somebody dressed up like a Bigfoot or alien or something. So we want it to be fun but informative. We don't want it to be boring.
Sure.
It'll start at 10 o'clock in the morning, roughly end around 7, but we don't have to end it at 7 if we're having a good time. And Paul, there's something I want to talk to you about. A lot of times you got speakers. Each speaker will have a little question and answer after they give their presentation. What I was thinking about is let everybody give their presentation and then have a panel at the end of the day of all of you guys sitting there to answer questions. What do you think?
Sure. I mean, as far as the paranormal field, I don't really, I don't mess with the spiritual world because some of those latch on to you and go home with you. I ain't got to worry about Bigfoot jumping in the back of my truck.
Well, you would hope he would.
No, I really would not.
No. Okay.
But I preached for 10 years and very well, versed in the Bible and
yeah.
And then I had my encounter, and it totally, it just floored me. Because then I was wanting to, answers.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Bible speak of anything of this nature? And surprising to to me was I found where it does. There was, several. There was a whole civilization of extremely large, people that lived on this planet, and King Og was 12 foot tall,
right?
And then you had, of course, Goliath, who was 9 foot. He had 5 brothers, so that meant there was a breeding population of them.
Well, he also had the results of the demons having relationships before the flood there.
Yeah, well, that's something that's in the big world. Is this the remnants of the Nephilim? And which, I can't answer those questions because I don't know what the Nephilim looked like. I don't know. They could be sitting next to me and I wouldn't know it.
Right.
Supposedly, like I said in the story, it's that the sons of God saw the daughters of man, and they, because of their beauty, came down and took them as wives and knew them, and they had children, and I think that's where a lot of the Greek gods came from, those descriptions, and they were a lot more powerful and large in stature. Is there today? Can I look and see people large in stature? Well, yeah. All you gotta do is I met Shaquille O'Neal, and that's the biggest man I think I've ever stood beside. He's 7'4" and weighs. He is massive. 7'4" and weighs over 400 pounds and can run up and down a basketball court like it ain't nothing.
I know it.
His hand covered my entire face, and his fingers laid over top of my head. I mean, and then when you say, okay, what about the hair all over the body? Esau, when he was born, it says that he was covered in a red garment. That's hair. and there's a genetic anomaly called hypertrichosis, and it's the two little wolf boys, from Mexico, and the circus, that's the most popular ones we know of, but yet they were able to find DNA that matched, that was from Asia and Mexico. So how'd that person in Asia get to Mexico? And that, so, when I ask myself those questions, is it possible today for, people to live without the creature comforts, like I'm sitting here now? Yeah, they did it. They have been doing it for thousands of years.
That's how we got to this point.
So,
right.
And so, I kind of try to put it in that realistic aspect, and we've been, what's a good word? Now we got entertainment. We watch all these movies, and, everybody reads books and all that stuff. But my favorite is when I listen to someone tell a story of their encounter. And I can tell right off the bat if they feed me a line of BS or they're telling them something really happened to them. And when I'm sitting there listening to someone and they're talking about their encounter with this, whatever it is, and I can see the goosebumps pop up on their arms, the hair stand up. I've even seen big grown men start tearing up and crying because they saw something that just unravels what we've been dipped in. And in the paranormal world, that's just like, I don't like using the term Bigfoot. Native Americans call them Sasquatch. And the Native Americans here in Alabama call them Lofa. And also, Lofa was, hairy, smelly being that can speak. The term Bigfoot was coined in 1956 because a reporter looked at the tracks that someone had and went, "Man, that's a Bigfoot."
I've always said they got it wrong because it got 2 feet. It's not just a foot.
Yeah, and there's only one. There's only one. That's what. But and then when people ask me, they say, "Well, how many do you think there are in the state of Alabama?" And I'm just guesstimating just based off of reports, sightings, and whatnot. There's somewhere around 200, and I may be low. As far as that number goes, and then again, I may be high. I don't know.
They haven't responded to it. Yeah.
Well, it's not like they're going to show up for a census.
That's my point.
Be documented.
Come to the courthouse and sign up, so we want to know how many there are.
If you want to get your government assistance, your stamps and all that, you better come to the courthouse. They don't depend on that. Go ahead.
I don't. Going back to my question, I don't want you to feel compelled if we do a panel at the end, and if you're uncomfortable with the subject matter, I'm not gonna. You're not gonna offend me if you don't want to participate in certain things. That's the point.
No, I don't have a problem with it. Because there's times that, like I said, I've seen, these blue balls of light just appear out of nowhere. And, I went one time. Now, I did go one time on a paranormal investigation with a friend of mine. And, and he wanted me to go because I got all the cool gear. I got night vision and thermal and all that stuff. And I set my cameras up, and I put one camera watching a PK meter or whatever